Oh, wonderful. Here we are again at the most prestigious institution in the galaxy, the Galactic Combat Academy, where dreams come to die, and weak species come to, well, also die, but much faster. The arena stretches before us like a metallic coliseum, its bio-steel walls gleaming under the harsh artificial suns. 40,000 seats packed with beings from across 7 star systems, all here to watch another glorious display of superior alien combat prowess. The betting kiosks are working overtime today, their holographic displays flickering with odds that would make a quantum mathematician weep. Speaking of weeping, let me introduce today's entertainment. In the luxurious observation pods, we have the Zephyrians, those towering blue-skinned warriors who think flexing their 4 arms makes them intimidating. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. Then there are the Crathen, our beloved insectoid friends who keep clicking their mandibles in what they assume passes for laughter. And let us not forget the Vorthak energy beings, floating around like cosmic jellyfish, convinced their ability to phase through matter makes them invincible. All of them are here for one reason: to watch the newest batch of Combat Academy cadets get absolutely demolished by their superiors. It's tradition, really. Every cycle, the Academy selects the most promising young warriors from each species to participate in what they so eloquently call the Gauntlet. 1 hour, 3 opponents. Survive, and you graduate with honors. Fail, and, well, let's just say the medical bay gets busy. But here's where it gets truly hilarious. The Academy, in their infinite wisdom and completely misguided sense of fairness, instituted something called the Mercy Hour about 50 cycles ago. You see, they realized that some species, the more delicate ones, were dying within the first 10 minutes. Bad for public relations, apparently. Dead cadets don't pay tuition fees. So now, whenever a species is deemed developmentally challenged in the combat department, they get a full hour instead of the standard 30 minutes. 1 whole hour to flail around helplessly before their inevitable defeat. The crowd loves it. Nothing quite like watching a prolonged execution disguised as a fair fight. The betting terminals are practically smoking today. Why, you ask? Because humanity, those soft, pink, bipedal creatures from the third rock orbiting an unremarkable yellow star, has finally produced a cadet worthy of the Academy's attention. And by worthy, I mean laughably unqualified. The odds against any human surviving even half the Mercy Hour are currently sitting at 847 to 1. The bookmakers are practically giving away free money. Even the Slythean, known galaxy-wide for their terrible gambling habits, are placing bets against the human. 3 species have volunteered to serve as opponents today. Each one confident they could end this farce in under 10 minutes, Mercy Hour or not. The arena's medical staff has already prepared the regeneration chambers, though honestly, they're probably wasting their time. Some things can't be regenerated. The crowd settles into their seats, refreshment vendors making their final rounds, selling overpriced nutrient paste and fermented algae drinks. The holographic displays count down the minutes until what promises to be the shortest, most one-sided combat demonstration in Academy history. How absolutely delightful. And now, ladies, gentlemen, and assorted blob creatures, let me present today's main attraction. From the corner that nobody wanted to sponsor, weighing in at a pathetic 62 kilograms, standing barely 1.7 meters tall, we have Cadet Maya Torres. Yes, you heard correctly. Not only is she human, but she's also the youngest cadet in her class at 18 standard years. 18. Most species don't even develop proper motor functions until they're 30. Look at her down there in the preparation chamber, calmly adjusting her basic combat suit. No ceremonial war paint, no intimidating battle scars, no extra limbs or natural weapons. Just soft pink skin, brown hair tied back in what humans apparently call a ponytail, and dark eyes that seem almost bored. Oh, this is going to be entertaining. The Academy instructors are having a field day explaining her obvious shortcomings to the press corps. Professor Nextal, our esteemed Zephyrian combat theorist, is practically bouncing on his 4 legs with excitement. You see, he gestures with his lower arms while his upper ones hold data tablets. Humans possess no natural armor, no venom sacs, no energy projection capabilities. Their bone density is embarrassingly low, their reaction times are mediocre at best, and they require constant oxygen intake through primitive lung organs. Standing beside him, Instructor Velkoth nods sagely, her compound eyes gleaming with what passes for sympathy among the Krathen. Furthermore, she clicks, her mandibles creating that delightful scraping sound. Their emotional regulation is completely unstable. They experience something called fear, which actually impairs their physical performance. Fascinating, really, how evolution could produce such a fundamentally flawed design. But wait, there's more. Let me introduce Maya's opponents, each hand-picked to demonstrate the vast superiority of proper evolutionary development. First up, Commander Kelix of the Draconian Empire. 2.5 meters of pure reptilian muscle, armored scales that can deflect plasma rounds, and claws that could shred titanium plating. He's been undefeated in 47 combat scenarios and considers this match a waste of his valuable time. Right now, he's performing his traditional pre-battle ritual, which involves roaring loud enough to crack the arena's sound dampeners and flexing muscles that most species use to lift hover tanks. Next, we have Warrior Brex from the Hive Collective. This delightful insectoid specimen stands 3 meters tall on 6 legs, possesses natural exoskeleton armor rated for deep space combat, and can move at speeds that create sonic booms. His forearms each end in razor-sharp appendages capable of cutting through battle steel. He's currently clicking his mandibles in what his species considers polite conversation, though it sounds like a broken industrial grinder to everyone else. Finally, Champion Yurth, the pride of the astral communion. This energy being can phase between physical and plasma states at will, project destructive force beams, and manipulate gravity fields. Yurth doesn't even have a physical form most of the time, existing as a controlled storm of crackling energy that hovers ominously above the arena floor. The crowd is having an absolute blast mocking the human cadet. The Vortak delegates are taking bets on which body part will be severed first. A group of Krathen younglings has started a chant that roughly translates to "squish the soft thing." Even the normally dignified Celestial Council members are barely containing their amusement. One particularly loud Zephyrian in the upper stands keeps shouting, "Hey human, did you remember to write your will?" This is apparently the height of comedy because the entire section erupts in what sounds like dying space whales. Maya Torres continues her preparation, completely ignoring the mockery. She's checking her equipment with methodical precision, as if this were just another training exercise rather than a public execution disguised as education. Oh, the betting terminals are having a meltdown. Absolutely spectacular. The odds against Maya have now climbed to 1,247 to 1, which is apparently the highest recorded disadvantage in Academy history. The previous record holder was a gelatin blob creature who lasted exactly 37 seconds before dissolving into nutritious pudding. Bookmaker Thaxmol, a particularly greedy Ferengi-adjacent species, is practically rubbing his 6 hands together with glee. "Ladies and beings," he announces through the arena's communication system, "we're now accepting exotic bets. Will the human last longer than 5 minutes? Will she manage to land a single hit? Will she cry before the first opponent finishes her off?" The crowd roars with laughter at each increasingly ridiculous proposition. A group of wealthy Zephyrian merchants has pooled their resources to bet on something called total molecular displacement time, which apparently refers to how long it takes for Maya's atoms to scatter after Champion Yurth disintegrates her. Charming. Meanwhile, our esteemed sports commentator, Vixandra of the Cosmic Broadcasting Network, is providing what she believes passes for expert analysis. Viewers across 17 star systems. She purrs into her bioneural microphone, are witnessing what scientists call evolutionary comedy. Humans, bless their primitive hearts, evolved on a world so safe and boring that they never developed proper survival instincts. No natural predators worth mentioning. No environmental hazards that required adaptation. They're essentially walking proof that not every species deserves to leave their home planet. Her co-commentator, the insufferably smug Plex Tor, adds his own wisdom. Exactly right, Vixandra. Notice how the human skin changes color when exposed to minor temperature variations? That's called blushing. And it's actually a stress response that makes them more visible to predators. Imagine evolving a mechanism that literally helps enemies spot you when you're scared. Down in the arena preparation area, Maya Torres continues her routine as if she's preparing for a casual morning jog. She tests the weight of each available weapon, examining them with what almost looks like professional interest. The weapon selection includes standard plasma rifles, molecular disruption blades, gravity hammers, and various exotic implements designed to level the playing field between different species. Arena Director Cole Veth, a massive bear-like creature with too many teeth, steps forward to explain the rules. His voice echoes through the combat zone with bureaucratic authority. Combat will commence when the chronometer reaches 0. Each opponent will enter individually, allowing for fair single combat scenarios. The human cadet has been granted the traditional mercy hour, during which she may use any available weapons, terrain advantages, or tactical approaches deemed acceptable by Academy standards. He pauses dramatically, clearly savoring the moment. Victory conditions are simple: incapacitation, surrender, or another dramatic pause, total biomass failure. Medical teams are standing by, though their effectiveness depends largely on how much of the cadet remains intact after each encounter. The crowd absolutely loves this. Someone in the Crathan section starts a betting pool on which specific injury will end Maya's pathetic attempt at combat. The Vorthak delegates are taking holographic recordings to share with their home colonies as examples of inferior species attempting advancement beyond their capabilities. Maya selects her weapons with deliberate care: a standard plasma rifle, 2 molecular blades, and something that looks suspiciously like a human-designed multi-tool. The weapon selection draws fresh waves of laughter from the stands. Several beings are pointing at her choices and making what can only be described as pity sounds. Commander Keelix is performing elaborate stretching exercises that involve impressive displays of claw extension and scale hardening. Warrior Brex has begun his species' traditional battle meditation, which sounds like an industrial accident set to a very aggressive rhythm. Champion Yurth simply hovers ominously, occasionally flickering between energy states to show off. When the countdown begins, 60 minutes of mercy time, starting now. And Maya Torres? She's smiling. Actually smiling. How wonderfully naive. The chronometer hits 0, and Commander Keelix charges into the arena like a living battering ram. 2.5 meters of scaled fury, claws extended, ready to end this embarrassment before it properly begins. Standard draconian assault tactics, textbook perfect. Overwhelming force, minimal effort, maximum intimidation. And then Maya Torres does something absolutely wrong. Instead of running, cowering, or assuming a defensive position like every combat manual in the galaxy suggests, she drops to the ground. Not in surrender, mind you. She actually lies down flat and starts rolling? The entire crowd falls silent for exactly 3 seconds, trying to process what they're witnessing. Commander Keelix, bless his primitive reptilian brain, continues his charge and promptly trips over the rolling human. Physics, it turns out, applies even to superiority complex sufferers. 2.5 meters of confused draconian hits the arena floor with a sound like a cargo hauler crash landing. What in the 7 hells of Nexus Prime is she doing? Commentator Vixandra shrieks into her microphone. Her co-host Plex Tor is frantically consulting his tactical analysis databases, which apparently never accounted for opponents who deliberately make themselves smaller targets by horizontal locomotion. Maya rolls to her feet with surprising grace and immediately starts running. Not toward her weapons, not toward cover, but straight at the arena's environmental control panel. The crowd starts laughing again because clearly the stress has driven her completely insane. Commander Keelix recovers quickly, his pride more damaged than his scales. He roars something that probably translates to very impolite suggestions about Maya's ancestry and launches himself into pursuit. Draconians can reach impressive speeds when properly motivated by public humiliation. Maya reaches the control panel and does something that makes every engineer in the audience simultaneously gasp and applaud. She jams her multi-tool into the atmospheric regulation system and twists it like she's opening a particularly stubborn jar of pickles. The arena's artificial gravity begins fluctuating wildly. Now, here's where things get interesting. Draconians evolved on a high-gravity world, which makes them incredibly strong but also completely dependent on consistent gravitational fields for proper movement coordination. Humans, apparently, evolved on a world with inconsistent gravity due to something called weather patterns and geological activity. Commander Keelix, mid-leap, suddenly finds himself floating helplessly 3 meters above the arena floor as gravity drops to roughly 20% of standard. His claws scratch uselessly at empty air, while he spins like an angry, scaled pinwheel. Maya, meanwhile, is somehow using the gravity fluctuations to bounce off walls with controlled precision. She retrieves her plasma rifle and molecular blades while literally dancing through 3-dimensional space like she was born for it. The crowd's laughter dies abruptly. This isn't according to script. Technical malfunction. Arena director Colveth bellows, but Maya is already moving to her next impossibility. She uses the low gravity to leap impossible distances, ricocheting off arena walls and somehow ending up behind the still-floating Commander Keelix. What happens next defies several Academy combat doctrines simultaneously. Instead of attacking Keelix directly, Maya activates both molecular blades and begins systematically cutting through his armor straps. Not the armor itself, mind you, just the connections holding it together. Keelix's ceremonial battle gear, designed to intimidate enemies and deflect plasma fire, suddenly becomes an embarrassing collection of floating metal pieces. Underneath, he's still impressively muscled, but now completely exposed and dizzy from unwanted aerial acrobatics. She's not fighting him, Professor Nextau whispers in horrified realization. She's undressing him. Maya waits until gravity returns to normal, timing it perfectly so that Commander Keelix crashes to the arena floor in a tremendously undignified heap that's surrounded by his own scattered armor pieces. Before he can recover, she's already activated the arena's training drone system. 6 practice drones, designed for beginners to learn basic combat reflexes, suddenly converge on the disoriented Draconian. Normally, these wouldn't even scratch a warrior of his caliber. However, they're programmed to target the largest, most heavily armored opponent in their vicinity. Commander Keelix, now armorless and confused, finds himself being systematically stunned by training equipment designed for children. Maya stands calmly to one side, checking her chronometer. 9 minutes and 47 seconds. The arena falls into the kind of silence usually reserved for funeral services. Warrior Brex enters the arena with significantly less confidence than his predecessor. The insectoid's compound eyes are doing something that his species probably considers tactical assessment, but looks suspiciously like panic to anyone with functioning optical organs. The betting terminals are experiencing what financial experts call catastrophic recalibration. Odds are dropping faster than Commander Keelix's dignity, and several bookmakers are discreetly activating their emergency bankruptcy protocols. Ladies and beings, commentator Vixandra's voice has lost its earlier smugness. We appear to be witnessing unprecedented tactical applications. Our expert panel is consulting additional databases. Translation: nobody has any idea what just happened, and they're all terrified of looking stupid on galactic television. Warrior Brex approaches cautiously, his 6 legs clicking against the arena floor in what sounds like nervous Morse code. His species prides itself on logical combat algorithms and predictable enemy response patterns. Maya Torres has just violated approximately 17 different strategic principles that the Hive Collective considered universal constants. Maya, meanwhile, has collected several of Commander Keelix's armor pieces and is doing something with them that defies explanation. She's connecting them with energy cables from the disabled training drones, creating what appears to be either advanced technology or abstract art. It's impossible to tell which. Brex decides on a ranged approach, which is tactically sound against unpredictable opponents. His forearms deploy various projectile weapons while his legs position him for maximum stability and quick retreat options. Textbook hive warfare, refined over millennia of successful conquests. Maya looks up from her improvised contraption, notices Brex's positioning, and does something that makes every military strategist in the audience question their career choices. She starts talking to him. "Hey there, big guy," she calls out cheerfully, her voice carrying clearly across the arena. "Nice exoskeleton. Must take forever to clean between all those joints." Brex pauses, confused. Enemy psychological warfare typically involves intimidation, not casual conversation about personal hygiene. "I bet it's really annoying when you get sand stuck in there," Maya continues, still working on her mysterious device. "Or worse, when you molt and everything itches at once but you can't scratch properly because of the armor plating." The Krathen delegation in the stands shifts uncomfortably. Molting is considered a deeply private biological process, not appropriate arena discussion material. Maya activates her contraption, which turns out to be a sonic amplification device built from draconian armor resonance chambers and drone power cells. The sound it produces isn't loud, exactly, but it vibrates at a frequency that makes every insectoid in the arena start twitching involuntarily. "Oh, that's interesting," Maya observes, adjusting the frequency. "Your species must have really sensitive auditory organs. That explains why you guys always sound angry. You're probably hearing frequencies that drive you crazy all the time." Brex tries to advance, but the sonic interference is disrupting his coordination systems. His 6 legs are no longer moving in sync, creating a stumbling gait that would be hilarious if it wasn't so tactically devastating. "You know what I think?" Maya continues conversationally, slowly increasing the device's output. "I think your whole species is probably sleep-deprived. When do you guys rest? Do you have to coordinate all 6 legs even when you're lying down?" That sounds exhausting. The psychological impact is immediate and brutal. Brex, like most hive warriors, has never considered the inefficiency of his own biology. Now, with sonic interference scrambling his motor functions, he's becoming acutely aware of every coordination requirement his species takes for granted. Maya starts moving in unpredictable patterns, not attacking but simply being present in ways that force Brex to constantly recalculate his position. These targeting systems, designed for logical opponents, can't establish firing solutions on someone who seems to be moving according to random number generators. Must be tough. Being so smart but having to think about walking all the time, Maya muses, ducking under a poorly aimed energy blast. "Humans are lucky. We can walk and think about completely different things simultaneously. Sometimes we even forget we're walking at all." Brex's compound eyes are darting frantically, trying to track Maya's movement while simultaneously coordinating his increasingly unsteady legs. The sonic device continues its insidious work, creating harmonic resonances in his exoskeleton that feel like being trapped inside a malfunctioning engine. "Oh, I know," Maya suddenly exclaims, as if struck by inspiration. "You probably dream in tactical formations, don't you? Even your sleep is organized. That must be why you guys always seem so uptight." She makes a subtle adjustment to her device, and the sonic frequency shifts to something that resonates specifically with hive neural pathways. Brex staggers, his forearms lowering involuntarily as his nervous system struggles to process conflicting input signals. The crowd watches in horrified fascination as the mighty warrior, undefeated in 38 combat scenarios, slowly sinks to his knees while a small human discusses his sleep schedule. Maya checks her chronometer, 14 minutes, 52 seconds. "Sorry about this," she says genuinely, then increases the sonic output to maximum. Brex collapses, overwhelmed by sensory feedback and existential questions about the efficiency of 6-legged locomotion. Champion Earth materializes in the arena center as a swirling vortex of barely contained energy, crackling with power that makes the air itself hum with menace. This isn't just another opponent, this is the Academy's ultimate challenge. Energy beings don't have physical weaknesses, coordination problems, or psychological hang-ups about their biology. They just have raw, universe-bending power. The remaining crowd holds its collective breath. Surely this will end the madness. Energy beings are essentially living plasma storms with consciousness. They can phase through matter, manipulate gravity, and project force beams capable of vaporizing starship hulls. Torres looks up at the towering energy form and does something that makes every physicist in the audience question fundamental laws of reality. She starts running directly toward it. Fascinating. Earth's voice resonates like controlled thunder. The primitive displays suicidal tendencies. This will be mercifully brief. Champion Earth charges up a disintegration beam that could reduce Maya to her component atoms. The energy buildup creates brilliant light displays that would be beautiful if they weren't so utterly lethal. Standard procedure, overwhelming force applied instantly to end threat. Maya suddenly slides under the beam, her trajectory carrying her straight through Earth's energy form. Except instead of being vaporized, she emerges on the other side completely intact but moving significantly faster than physics should allow. Impossible. Earth rumbles, recalibrating targeting systems. No organic matter can pass through plasma fields unharmed. Maya grins, and there's something predatory in her expression that wasn't there before. "You're right," she pants, and her breathing is definitely elevated. That hurt like hell. But humans have this weird thing called adrenaline. Pain makes us faster, not slower. She's moving differently now. Not the calculated tactical movements from before, but something more fluid, more instinctive. Her pupils are dilated, her reaction times visibly improved, and she's tracking Earth's energy fluctuations with uncanny precision. Earth fires again, multiple beams converging on Maya's position. She doesn't dodge so much as flow between them, her spatial reasoning apparently enhanced by whatever biological changes are occurring. Each near miss seems to make her more focused rather than more frightened. "Your species experiences fear enhancement?" Earth queries, genuinely confused. "Most beings become less effective under combat stress." "A different kind of stress response," Maya explains, breathing hard but steady. She's jury-rigging another device from arena components, working with steady hands despite the energy beams searing the air around her. Humans don't shut down under pressure. We get faster, stronger, more focused. Our ancestors called it fight or flight, but we usually choose fight. Earth attempts a gravity manipulation attack, creating a localized field meant to crush Maya into the arena floor. Instead of resisting, she uses the gravitational pull to accelerate her movements, bouncing between surfaces with physics-defying precision. "Your pain tolerance is abnormal," Earth observes as Maya emerges from what should have been a fatal gravitational compression, obviously injured but still moving. Most species would be incapacitated. Maya completes her improvised device, some kind of electromagnetic pulse generator built from training drone components and Brex's abandoned weapons. Blood is trickling from several wounds, but her focus seems sharper rather than diminished. "Humans are persistence hunters," she explains, activating the device. "We don't give up when we're hurt. We get stubborn." The electromagnetic pulse disrupts Earth's energy matrix, causing visible fluctuations in the champion's form. Not damaging exactly, but creating interference patterns that affect energy being cohesion. "You cannot harm pure energy," Earth states, but there's uncertainty in the resonance now. Maya doesn't try to harm the energy. Instead, she does something no combat manual ever anticipated. She starts conducting it. Using metal components from her defeated opponent's equipment, she creates a crude but effective energy redistribution network. Every time Earth attacks, the energy gets channeled through Maya's improvised conductor array and fed back into the arena's power systems. Earth finds each attack, making the human's defensive network stronger rather than overwhelming it. Energy builds with nowhere to discharge safely. The champion's own power becomes a trap, creating feedback loops that threaten the integrity of the energy being's consciousness matrix. "This is impossible," Earth's voice distorts as coherence begins to fail. "You're using our attacks against us through primitive metallurgy." Maya checks her chronometer one final time, 16 minutes, 58 seconds. "Humans are really good at making tools," she says simply. Earth's energy form destabilizes completely, dissipating into harmless static discharge that grounds safely through Maya's conductor network. The arena erupts into chaos as 40,000 beings realize they've just witnessed the impossible. The betting terminals don't just crash, they actually catch fire. Literally. Smoke is pouring from 17 different kiosks as their quantum processors attempt to calculate payouts for odds that should never have existed. Bookmaker Thax Mole is seen frantically attempting to access emergency bankruptcy funds while 3 separate government auditors demand immediate explanations. Arena director Cole Veth stands frozen in his observation booth, mouth hanging open in a way that would be undignified for any species with functional jaw muscles. Around him, Academy officials are experiencing what psychologists call paradigm collapse, though it looks more like mass confusion mixed with existential terror. Professor Nextal, our esteemed combat theorist, is rapidly scrolling through 17,000 years of accumulated tactical knowledge, searching for precedents that simply don't exist. This violates fundamental principles, he keeps muttering to anyone within hearing range. Combat effectiveness should decrease under stress, not improve. Pain should cause incapacitation, not enhanced performance. Where are the fear responses? Where is the logical retreat behavior? Down in the arena, Maya Torres is calmly gathering her equipment while medics hover uncertainly nearby. They're not sure if they should treat her obvious injuries or study them, since she appears to be functioning better wounded than most species do in perfect health. Could you explain your tactical approach? Asks Academy researcher Dex Morian, approaching with the kind of caution usually reserved for unstable explosives. His recording devices are working overtime, trying to capture data that will probably require entirely new scientific classifications. Maya looks genuinely surprised by the question. Tactical approach? I just used what was available. Gravity controls were right there. The sonic equipment was obviously compatible with insectoid nervous systems, and energy beings need coherent electromagnetic fields to maintain consciousness. Basic problem solving, really. Basic. Problem solving. The word basic seems to hit the surrounding aliens like physical blows. Commander Keelix, now conscious but thoroughly humiliated, makes a sound that translates roughly to primal screaming. Warrior Brex is still twitching occasionally, muttering something about the philosophical implications of 6-legged locomotion efficiency. But how did you adapt so quickly to combat conditions you'd never encountered? Presses Professor Nextal, his forearms gesturing frantically. Your species has no documented experience with anti-gravity combat, sonic warfare, or energy being disruption techniques. Maya shrugs, which apparently causes several species to step backward involuntarily. Humans are generalists. We adapt to stuff. It's kind of our thing. Back home, we used to hunt animals that were bigger, faster, and stronger than us by just being really, really persistent and creative about it. This wasn't much different. Dr. Kex Lana, the Academy's chief xenobiologist, approaches with scanning equipment that's practically screaming with confused data readings. Your stress responses are completely backwards, she announces, as if Maya were personally responsible for violating biological norms. Most species produce chemicals that impair function during combat. Your biochemistry actively improves performance under pressure. Yeah, adrenaline is pretty useful, Maya agrees. Also endorphins for pain management, enhanced oxygen uptake, improved reaction times, better pattern recognition. Evolution gave us really good emergency settings. The silence that follows this casual explanation is somehow more profound than the earlier shocked quiet. It's the silence of beings realizing that their entire understanding of combat biology and species development might be fundamentally flawed. Commentator Vixandra finally finds her voice, though it sounds somewhat strained. Ladies and beings, we appear to have witnessed what experts are calling adaptive combat superiority through biological optimization. In layman's terms, humans apparently evolved specifically to excel in exactly the kinds of situations we assumed would destroy them. Plextor adds weekly, our databases indicate that humanity's homeworld experienced constant environmental challenges requiring rapid adaptation, tool creation, and persistence hunting techniques. What we interpreted as evolutionary weakness was actually specialized training for this. Maya checks her chronometer one final time and looks around at the shell-shocked faces surrounding her. So, did I pass the test? Arena Director Kolveth eventually manages to nod, though it looks like the gesture might cause him permanent neck damage. Somewhere in the stands, a lone Zephyrian begins what sounds like nervous laughter. Within minutes, the entire arena is filled with the sound of 40,000 beings laughing, crying, absurd, or making whatever noise their species produces when confronted with the absolute absurdity of their own assumptions. Maya Torres walks toward the exit, completely unbothered by the chaos she's created. After all, she has homework to finish.